everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to dive deep into China's transit visa-free policy. What is the policy? Which country qualifies? How it works? And honestly, what can go wrong if you're not careful? And let's help you to avoid that stress. So first, what is China's transit visa-free policy? Starting from June 12th, China's transit visa policy allows citizens from 55 countries to stay in China for up to 240 hours, which is 10 days without applying for a visa in advance. But certain specific conditions applies. The policy meant to make short visits easier if you are just transiting through China onto another country. So which country is eligible? According to the policy updated on June 12th, citizens from the 55 countries in this list qualify for this transit visa free. Now let's get into the detail of how to make this work. To use this policy, you need to travel from country A to China and exit China and fly to country B, where you're treating China only as a transit country. You cannot fly round trip like US to China and then back to US. Note that Hong Kong and Macau are technically count as a third destination. So you can go US to China mainland to Hong Kong or Macau and then back to the US. You must enter in China through the approved ports, which I listed here as well. Some other requirements includes a passport that is valid for at least 3 months, and you must have an onward ticket before arrival to China. And you may have hotel reservations in your third destination as needed. It sounds simple, but the details can trip you up. And it actually happened for one of my friends from the US. When I invited my American friends over to China for our wedding, most of them applied a visa. But one of my friends decided to go with the transit visa-free policy. It seemed, simple, but here is the ticket that we booked. We started from Phoenix, Arizona to Dalian, China. Since after our wedding, we planned to take them to Beijing. We booked his return flight as from Beijing to South Korea, and he will enter South Korea and then take another flight from South Korea to the US. So on paper, it looked okay, right? It's from the US to China, then South Korea, then back to the US. But here is where we messed up. Although the flight we booked is from US to China, but there is a transit via South Korea. Although my friend didn't even enter the country, he stayed at the airport, but this transit stop still counted as departing from South Korea. So the full flight became US to South Korea to China, and then he's leaving China to enter South Korea again and then back to the US. So this counted actually as a round trip. Because of that hidden transit, it looks like he's looping back to the same country, even though he never stepped his feet into South Korea on his way in. And at the South Korea airport, that's where things start to fall apart. The airline refused to let him board to the flight to Dalian without a valid visa. So we had to scramble at the very last minute to buy him a ticket from Beijing to Japan, so that on the whole agenda, it looks like he's leaving China to Japan, and then he has to fly from Japan to South Korea, then to his way back to the US. He also had to book a hotel for a short stay in Japan, so the whole route became US to South Korea, to China, to Japan, to South Korea again, and then back to the US. It was definitely a very stressful experience, but we were all glad that we got that sorted out. So please, we want you to learn from our experience. And if you decided to go with the transit visa-free policy, be careful when you plan your route. You want to pay attention to all the transits you have when you book your flight. You want to confirm your whole route with your airline to make sure the route qualifies for the transit visa-free policy. And if you're unsure, just go ahead and apply for a regular tourist visa to save you money, time, and headache. And that's your deep dive into China's transit visa-free policy. And hopefully it's helpful, and one last thing for you to worry about. In our next video, we will go through the details of how to apply for the regular China's tourist visa. And if you find this helpful, give the video a like, subscribe, and drop your questions or stories in the comments below. I would love to hear. Alright, see you in the next video.